Hi everybody and welcome back to NovelNoms. This week we're still going with the summer theme and we're going to make something delicious and vegetarian, but it's nice and light and yet comforting for the summer. This is a great main dish that you can make that has just that, it'll fill you up, but it has that bright, beautiful summer flavor that will kind of, just make you happy to be in the sunshine.
From classics to children's books, you never know what she's gonna cook when Gretchen makes NovelNoms.
So this week I'm going to show you how to make summer vegetable risotto, and we're going to make a homemade vegetable stock with it. And you can use that stock for a variety of things, but we're going to make this beautiful meal, and it's going to go with this book by Weiner. It's called Fly Away Home, and I actually recently won a writing contest. You had to write, I think it was 175 words or less, about the most memorable moment of your life, or the last 10 years. And so I wrote a little blurb, and I got runner-up, which was kind of cool, and they sent me every single one of the books that she's written, and also are going to send me a gift card for a spa day, which I'm very excited about. But these are going to be my summer reading. They're just nice, light reads, yet really, really well written. I'm really excited to dive into these books this summer. Great summer read, Weiner, Fly Away Home, and Summer Vegetable Risotto. Dish that basically has four different main components. You've got the sofrito, which is the oil with the onions cooked in it. That's like the first stage. And then you've got the broth, which you could use vegetable, beef, shrimp, like seafood broth, whatever kind of stock you have that you enjoy, you can do that. But we're going to use a veggie. And the third component would be your flavoring. So you've got your broth and your sofrito, which are basic ingredients, and the flavorings you could add pretty much any flavor profile that you enjoy. Your fourth component is the rice, and the kind of rice that you use for a risotto is a short grain. This arborio is probably the most common that you would find in the States. It's just a tiny little short grain rice. And the great thing about this is it's going to get creamy and release a lot of starch, and we're not going to put any cream in this. So it's not going to be like that heavy creamy dish, but it's going to be creamy just because of the starch that's already in the rice. Before we get going on the actual risotto, I need to make my stock. Now the great thing about making a veggie stock is you can pretty much use anything. I mean, obviously you don't want to use a ton of like really heavy flavor because that's what's going to come out. But any vegetable you have in the refrigerator, you can kind of stick in here. And the other great thing about it is if you have vegetables like my cabbage that I got in my basket last week that I wasn't sure how to use and I didn't want it to go bad, we can put that in the veggie stock. If you have carrots that are starting to kind of wilt a little bit, they're not like crispy anymore, you can put those in the stock because we're going to filter out all of the stuff that's in it and just have the stock at the end. So you don't have to worry about if it's pretty or not because you're not even going to see the vegetables at the end. You're just going to be left with their essence. So I'm going to start to heat up my pan, and I have a big pot here, and I'm going to get that heated up, and I'm going to put into that a tablespoon of olive oil just to get it heated. I'm going to take these onions, and it's kind of a time saver because like those tops, I don't need to worry about that because those are going to actually come out. I'm going to strain all the vegetables out so I don't have to worry about kind of making the vegetables look perfect. I'm just going to do a rough chop through these. That's it. And I'm going to stick those into the oil. That start to sizzle here in a second. Probably didn't let it heat up enough. Onions are starting to sizzle. I'm also going to chop up a couple of cloves of garlic and add those into the mix. The great thing is all I'm going to do is smash them like that. Leave the skins on because that's just flavor. And I'm going to stick those kind of in there. And I'm going to take some carrots. These are some carrots that I probably wouldn't have been able to use up by the end of their lifetime. So I'm just going to chunk those up into 1 or 2 inch pieces. I'm also going to chunk up some celery. Now, after you've used the celery, you may be left with like the hearts, the celery hearts. You can use that. I'm actually going to cut that off because it's kind of dirty. I don't want the dirt in my stock. But that's it. I'm just going to have big pieces of cabbage, I'm just going to cut into big enough pieces. Don't have to really worry about it. There's onion that's starting to go bad, so I'm going to cut off kind of the part that's the worst. Cut off the top. Again, I don't even have to worry about the onion skin. I'm just going to cut that like that, chunk that up. I'm going to put those skins in there and everything. I've got jalapenos. If you like it, got a little bit of kick, you can see they're kind of wilty. They're starting to go bad, but they're still good jalapenos. I just won't be able to use them up. So into my pot, I'm going to add all these vegetables. Skins and all. There's skins in there. I've got carrots. Yummy. And the last thing I'm going to add to that is just a quartered lime that I'm going to squeeze over the top of it. It's going to give it a nice, beautiful, bright flavor. Get all that kind of mixed up a little. All those veggies in there are going to give me an amazing flavor. Okay, so I'm just kind of tossing all of that, the vegetable in the olive oil, kind of get it heated up. And I'm just going to add water to this. Put about 3 quarts in here. 3 quarts works out to about 12 cups. Okay. You could do more. You could do, more vegetables, or you could just cook it longer. I'm going to get all of that beautiful veggie, garlic, all of that in there. And I want to bring that up to a boil, and I want that to cook for about 30 minutes. And I'm also going to add to my stock some thyme. If you have fresh thyme, that's fantastic. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of some dry thyme and some tarragon. Now you could also put in some bay leaf. You could put in really whatever kind of flavorings you enjoy. You could put some red pepper flakes in there. Now while that's cooking, I already have my oven set to broil. And I was going to grill these because I thought, well, it's a great summer thing, we can grill it. But it's really hot outside here. It's like 110 degrees, so I didn't feel like grilling. So here's a nice alternative, especially if you don't have a griller, you can't grill, or it's just too much effort. You can do the same thing with your roasting. You're going to get a lot of the same kinds of flavors. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some different kinds of vegetables, and I'm just going to slice them up. Some fresh, beautiful green beans that I'm just going to, kind of the quick way to do this is to kind of get a bunch of them, line them up, just chop their little tails off, and just go ahead and do this with all of your green beans. An alternative to green beans, if you don't like green beans or you can't find good fresh ones, a beautiful alternative would be like asparagus would be really yummy, or whatever vegetables you like for summer. Spread out those green beans. I'm going to put some squash on there. Drizzle them with some olive oil. Salt and pepper. And I'm just going to stick this under the broiler, probably for about 10-15 minutes. Probably by the time this is ready, our broth will be ready. Broth has been cooking for about 10 minutes. You can see how beautiful it is. All those vegetables are kind of steeping in there. And the broth is starting to change color. So it's starting to get the flavor of those vegetables. And I have some sea salt I'm just going to add, which I think has like a nicer flavor. I'm going to put about a teaspoon-ish of sea salt in there. Now while we're waiting for our broth to finish and our veggies to grill, I wanted to show you, remember last week I talked about I bought a chili pepper poster? I bought this chili pepper poster, which is all based on Arizona chili peppers and kind of shows all the ones that are indigenous and shows the pepper itself, gives you the name, and then tells you the Scoville units. Remember we talked about that heat index? And it gives you the little heat index right there, so it gives you all kinds of peppers on there. And bought 2 of them, so I thought this would be a good time to start our first prize giveaway. I would like to give this poster away to one of you. All you have to do is send me a postcard to my P.O. Box, Roytia, and put on there a meal that you love or that you'd like to see me cook, and a book that you think it'd be great to go with. Every month I will pick one of your postcards, and every month I will send one of you a prize. And I'll actually cook the meal. So once a month we will have a viewer's choice and you'll get a prize for it. So that's, yay, fun. So pepper poster could be yours, sent from me with a little note to thank you for your idea. So make it happen. Okay, I'm gonna pull those out. I don't want them to get too brown because I don't want them to be burned, but I just want to be cooked and still have a little crispy to them. Okay, yummy. So I'm just going to set these aside and let them cool a little bit. Look at this stock. It's been cooking. So it's got all of those things in there, including the skins of everything. And look how dark it is because it's got all that yummy vegetable-ness in there. Make sure you have a bowl under your strainer. And I'm going to pour that broth right in there. Just going to strain out all of the juice because that's what we want. So now I've got this gorgeousness broth. And I need it to be warm, so I'm going to set it aside. It's not on the heat. I have a heavy bottomed pan, which this is a Dutch oven. I also have wine. I want to heat this up on medium. You can't put these up real high, but I'm going to heat this up, and I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on the bottom, about a tablespoon. And I'm also going to chop up some green onions, this time being that I don't actually want the little tentacles at the top. Just gonna chop those up, and I'm gonna cut up till it starts getting to the darker green. I'm gonna throw those onions in the bottom of my pot. I cook these onions till they're a little bit soft. This rice, again, it's a short grain rice. It is very creamy, and it takes nurturing. Risotto is one of those dishes you can't just whip up risotto. It's kind of needs to be nurtured, loved, eaten with wine. Once those onions are kind of tender, not like cooked to death, but tender, I'm going to add in the uncooked rice. So this is just the hard kernels. I'm going to put those into my pan. I have a cup of our boil rice. Kind of toss it in that oil and green onions. If you've ever made rice-a-roni, this is kind of the idea. You're bringing out the nuttiness and the flavor of that rice. You're toasting it. So I'm going to cook this like this for about 2 to 3 minutes. I don't want it to get like black or like really dark brown. I just want to cook it enough to kind of give it a little bit of the flavor. And then we're going to add some more stuff. So we've got just a little tiny bit of toast on our boiled rice. So it's got a little bit of brown color. I'm going to take some very fancy wine, and I'm going to put about a 1/4 cup in the bottom. Just a 1/4 cup. Don't go crazy. Get it all in there. It's going to take about 30 seconds, but you want to watch for the wine to all be absorbed into the rice. It's not going to take long at all. So you got to really pay attention. You don't want it to burn. But the white wine is going to pull up all of that onion flavor off the bottom. Okay, so see how it's kind of absorbed? I don't see any liquid in there anymore. Now, I'm going to add about a cup of that vegetable stock. And again, I'm going to cook it, keep it at that temperature until it absorbs. It's probably going to take just a couple minutes. It's going to absorb all of that liquid. And you need to keep stirring it. Because it is absorbing all that liquid, it can burn very fast. This is something you got to keep an eye on. Next, all you're going to do now after you've put in that first cup is I'm going to put a 1/2 cup of stock and let it absorb. And we're going to do a total of 4.5 cups. So that's already been a 1.5 cups. So we're going to do this about 4 more times. So keep stirring it. And I mean, you may say, well, that doesn't look like a lot of risotto. It's obviously going to absorb all that. It's obviously going to like suck up all that stock. And it's going to become very flavorful. It's going to get creamy, and it's going to be delicious. So I'm just going to do this a few more times, and then we'll be ready to finish up. My rice is almost ready. My risotto is almost ready. I still gotta keep an eye on it. You gotta make sure you keep stirring it. You don't want it to burn on the bottom of your pan. But I'm gonna take those vegetables that we roasted earlier. And they've cooled down quite a bit, but they are gonna warm up back when we put them into our risotto. All I'm gonna do, take those green beans, maybe just cut them a little bit. You wanna make sure they're just little bite-sized pieces. Cut them on like a little angle. Cut them on like a little angle to make them purty. In French, they call these haricots. In Tucson, we call them green beans. Those are ready to go. I also have ready to go some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. You could actually leave the cheese out if you're vegan, or find some vegan Parmesan. They do make it, made out of soy. Take a look at my risotto. You can see it's gotten creamy. I'm gonna have just one more cycle of broth. With a pinch of some sea salt, a little bit of black pepper. You know, if it tastes good, that's all that matters. But risotto is one of those things that you can make, and it seems like it's really hard, but it's really not, and it will impress your guests. And again, this is all vegetarian, so you could, you know, have this beautiful full meal. You could serve it with some garlic bread. Or some grilled garlic bread would be even better. A nice cocktail on the deck in the summertime. Jeez. I'm going to add to my risotto all of those cooked veggies. Risotto should have a little bit of tooth to it. It shouldn't be super soft. I'm going to add in those vegetables. Stir those in. See how beautiful the color is. I'm also going to add in a little bit of lime juice, a little bit, like a half of a small lime juice in there. And I'm going to take that same half and use my little zester. Wonderful thing we're going to put on there is some fresh Parmesan cheese. So I think I'm going to put about a 1/4 cup. Mix that in. It's going to melt. Take the creaminess that's already in the rice just inherently in that starch, and it's going to melt and add to that beautiful creamy texture. Of course, this is something that you could put a beautiful piece of grilled meat over the top of. Chicken, a flank steak would be beautiful, cut diagonally on top of that. So let's try this gorgeous risotto with these beautiful summer vegetables. There are no words. It's creamy, but it's light because of the vegetables. You get the cheese. I can actually taste the vegetable broth, but it's not super like in the front. So good. Oh, I forgot. You can put some of these on top, make it even prettier. Go make this summer vegetable risotto. Read some Jennifer Weiner, drink some wine. Enjoy. And don't forget about the contest. Send me a postcard. I love you. See you next week.
From classics to children's books, you never know what she's gonna cook when Gretchen makes novel noms.